It's a little bit of a for fun episode here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Not as much actionable intel in this one, but we're going to look at the 12 hottest players across fantasy basketball over the last 2 weeks as I move a bag of chips out of Cam Review and whether or not there's anything we should be doing with that information. This show will be targeting 20 to 25 minutes in length. It'll be one of our shorter episodes, but it should be kind of a fun one. And for you guys, how many of these dudes do you have on your roster? Please hit that like and subscribe button. This show, of course, is brought to you by FanDuel. I can be found on Twitter at Dan Vespers, DanBesbris. Let's begin with number one over the last 2 weeks. To no one's surprise, Nikola Jokic is number one over the last 2 weeks. It's a good time to be a Jokic. He's at 28 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, a steal, a block, and 2.5 3-pointers on 56.5% shooting from the field and 86% at the free throw line. He just continues to rumble right along, as per usual, lapping the field in fantasy basketball. He's also, I think, only missed one game so far this season. Crazy thing is, too, he's number one in fantasy, and he's worse over the last 2 weeks than he's been for the entire season. That's how good it's been for Jokic. But that's not one you're all that concerned about because you know he's going to be number one. And number two is also a terribly boring name to find on the list. That is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He is another guy who just keeps trucking along. He's at 35 points over his last 2 weeks, 2.3 3-pointers, about 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.5 steals, 61% high volume from the field. Obviously, he does his free throw thing, although he's actually only at 84% over that stretch and only 1.3 turnovers, making him one of the premier 9-cat guys year over year over year. It's pretty unbelievable, honestly. Shai for the season is at 33 points, 5 boards, 6.5 assists. The field goal percent lately has been better, but the free throw percent lately has been worse. But what are we doing here? We're splitting hairs? We're not. This is why I said take Shai if you have the number 2 pick. I know Wemby's right in there with him when healthy, but there's that one dang category that's hanging over everything. Anyway, Wemby's not there because he's been hurt. The number 3 player over the last 2 weeks, let's just actually start closing these tabs so I can save computer power, is Tyrese Maxey. He's been awesome so far this year. And of course, the big thing with Maxey was trying to figure out how much help he was going to have. And so far this season, the answer is very little. For the whole year, he's number 4. So again, much like Shai, he just bumps up one spot because Wemby's been hurt the last little bit. On the season, Maxey's averaging 40 minutes a game. So I'll say this, as great as he's been for the entire year, 32.5 points, 5 boards, 8 assists. For the last 2 weeks, 34 points, 5 boards, 7 assists, 2.8 defensive stats over that stretch. I am genuinely concerned that his body's going to break down. Because there just aren't that many guys in the NBA that can weather playing 40 minutes a ball game. Second place is Keegan Murray. He's at 38.5. I think there was an overtime game in there, and he's only at 7 games, so it's a little bit different than 20. Luka Doncic is at 37. Cade, 37, Reaves, Amen Thompson. So I had like 36s, 35s. Maxey's all by himself at 40. There's just nobody close. Minutes per game, total minutes. That number is easy. It's 40 times 20. He's at 800 minutes already. Nobody's even remotely close to him in total minutes right now. Cade, I think, is number 2. Trey Murphy might be number 2 because of an extra game played. But either way, nobody's close. James Harden is at 700. It's just a ton. It's just a ton. So I'm a little bit worried. Not to say that I would recommend a sell on Tyrese Maxey because he's been so amazing, but if you can get an equally high value player, first rounder, maybe you dip back just a little bit to who do we think is going to end up sort of mid first round by the time this is all done? That's relatively safe. Nobody. There's nobody. You're not going to get Luka, Shai, Wemby, or Jokic for him. It's not going to happen. The next player down on the board that you might consider would be a Scotty Barnes, but Maxey is destroying him in overall numbers. There's really nothing you could do. Maybe you could get 2 guys, try to get 2 second rounders that you think are going to stay upright. Could you get James Harden and go down the board a little bit? Could you get Harden and like Holmgren or something like that? That might get it done. It's pretty close. Anyway, fourth name on the list is Luka Doncic. As we mentioned, the top of the board, not that interesting for today's program. Luka's been awesome. Leads the league in scoring at 35.3, 9 boards, 9 assists. Like, what are we complaining about at this point? He's been an absolute monster. Over the last 2 weeks, he's at 36.6 points per game, 10 boards, 9 assists. So everything actually has been slightly better. Free throws have been better. Turnovers have been painfully high because of a 9 turnover game mixed in there. But what are you going to do? It's the same, like, just hold and enjoy. He might dip back a little bit, but this was the Luka we wanted before he got thickly. We can sugarcoat it all you want. Like, Mavs shouldn't have traded him. They should have found a way to get him back in shape without having to send him to another team. But, like, he's in shape again, and he's a magician. But let's keep going because these are not the interesting ones. Let's go to number 5 on the board, and that is Anthony Davis, who's finally back and healthy and playing again. And this is what AD can do when he's healthy. He's, over the last 2 weeks, which really for him is like 1 week, he's at 20 points, 12 boards, 4 assists, 0.7 steals, 2.7 blocks, a little over a three-pointer on 52% from the field, just 71 at the free throw line. But he hasn't really gotten there all that much lately. And I got to say, like, I don't think Anthony Davis has been that great since coming back, but he's going to be a one-man wrecking crew for as long as his body allows. He's at 29.6 minutes. This is, from a per-game standpoint, a little bit of an, like, not at all his potential peak, but he's Anthony Davis. And so he hasn't been back long enough for you to be like, yeah, we could trade him and we could get stuff back for him right now. You're going to need another week or two of AD actually being healthy. But if he rolls healthy for another couple of weeks, that would be the kind of guy you might want to look at, like a Scotty Barnes. And I know he's farther down the board, or like a Donovan Mitchell, or a Steph Curry, or a James Harden. These guys that are farther down the board, but more likely to make it through the year. Use your Anthony Davis. Now, if you built a team around him, if you did the always fun Adam King punt everything except defensive stats, which we needed. Kingy and I are going to do a show next week, and we'll get an update on how all of that is going. Yeah, I mean, if Anthony Davis is like the crux of how you built your team, you're not going to trade him. But if he's not, if you just took him because, I don't know, I told you guys not to, but if you took him anyway and you're trying to get out of it, a week or two of AD playing like this, you might be able to do so. This one might be the most interesting thing we talk about the whole damn show, and that's that Mikal Bridges is again in the first round over the last couple of weeks. It's becoming not a bug. This is the feature now. Bridges is number 7 overall in fantasy basketball. He's number 5 over the last 6? I lost track. Over the last 2 weeks. That's crazy. He's on 19 points, 4.7 boards, 2.7 threes, 2.7 assists, 2 steals, a block, 60% from the field, 89% at the free throw line. He's trying to make a play at the Kawhi Leonard, I can be a 9-cat guy board, and he's not that far off. He's about a rebound, an assist away. I think that's basically it from being a positive in all 9 statistical categories. He's close over the last 2 weeks. That's amazing. Now, obviously, some of it is the 1 turnover a game. That's most of the guys in the first round are not getting positive value out of the turnover category. So you flip it over to 8-cat, he drops down a little bit. But he's doing so many good things. The problem, too, with Bridges is I'd love to say that you should sell high, but I don't think you're going to get anything higher than like a top 50 guy back. And if you remember, like, this is more like Phoenix Mikal Bridges. Phoenix Mikal Bridges was like a 35 rank type of dude in 9-cat. So it's very conceivable that he's just channeled Phoenix era Mikal Bridges, but even more efficient now. and he's going to be like a third rounder or better all season long. Now, if you can get a third rounder, I would probably do it just because of how stats are accumulated. A lot of his value is rolled up in percentages and defensive stats, which you guys know I love those. I think those are things you should be attacking hard in Roto, but in head-to-head, they're also the least predictable of the category. So if you're in head-to-head, if you can get like a, top 30 guy back, you probably do it. Roto, you probably do nothing. Here's one that we told you guys to draft. Austin Reaves. He's been so good. He's been so good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is number 7 on the 2-week board. After Reaves, we're going to do a quick little promo. Reaves is at 28, 6 and 6.5, basically, for the entire season over the last 2 weeks. 28, 7 and 4. He's shooting 60% during that stretch with 3 3-pointers a game. He's at 92% at the free throw line on over 7 attempts per ball game. It's been a hell of a ride. But as much as I do love Austin Reaves, and as much as he was one of our primo targets coming into the season, you should also be trying to sell high. The inclusion of LeBron James is going to slowly erode what Reaves is doing on a night-to-night basis, not by a ton, but by enough. And because Reaves is so efficient, because a lot of his value is tied up in that efficiency, scoring threes, field goal percent, free throw percent, and some assists, as you pull usage away, even small amounts, it impacts him in a big way. Some of these guys, you can mess around with their usage a little bit and it won't have the same impact because let's say they're like really good at, or they're not great at percentages or something like that. So, when they get more usage, they're going to get points and boards and assists, but it's going to hurt them in both percentages and turnovers. And it's not quite a wash, but it's closer. Whereas with Reaves, the turnovers will probably come down as his usage maybe not 3, maybe that comes down to like 2.5. But if the scoring drops by 4 or 5, I don't know that it will, but let's say that, an assist by 1 or 1.5, and the percentages have less of an impact because the volume is lower, that's how you take a hit. So I think for Reaves, you should be selling high and try to get a second rounder back because I do think he ends up somewhere in the second round, or you just assume he's going to be a second rounder and you roll with it. If you can get like a good second rounder back, maybe a second rounder who's trending up, that might be the way to go, which would be, it's too late to do it with Anthony Edwards. It's probably too late to do it with Cade. I don't know that there's a great match there. Jalen Johnson, who's always a bit banged up, maybe that's the target. Or again, you just ride it out because like he's been great. What's the harm in just enjoying it? Folks, quickly, a promo time here in the middle of the show. I want to keep this, again, relatively brief because we're trying to do this one in 20 to 25 minutes, which I always say, and then I biff it. Thank you, as always, to our partners at FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook for their continued partnership. They are, of course, our presenting sponsors here on the show. Thank you as well to the Believe Network, and thank you to you guys, because I keep talking about this 99-cent membership that we're dealing with here over at Old Man Squad, and every time I talk about it, one more person decides to do it. So thank you to those that have done it. Thank you to those that are considering it. It is how we're going to keep everything free forever. And right now, I'm really just trying to bridge the gap. There's a gap between the podcast revenue that's coming in and what I got to pay to the nanny and school donations and baseball and whatever. Basically, childcare that's not food or clothing. It's people that watch my kid and the activities that they do. And if those can get paid for, then I can just do this for free forever, because from that point, then we move a little bit into the black. But right now, we're a little bit in the red. Be honest with you guys, full disclosure, little bit in the red. Nanny expenses went up last couple of months. We had a changeover. So if you got the 99 cents, please consider it. YouTube membership, Patreon, whatever. You can ask me questions by having a membership. That's something you can't do without it. Going to record a podcast with my kid. I was trying to do it over the Thanksgiving break, but it was, anybody that has kids at home over a break, that's not, you're not swinging it. So you guys are great. Remember to like, rate, and subscribe mid of the show. Follow at Dan Vespris. Let's continue with our next player on the board, and that is another of the Old Man Squad prime targets. Let's get him on there. Where are you at? Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray is number 8 over the last 2 weeks. Oopsies. I put the wrong thing up on the board. There we go. The 52-point game being a big reason why, but he's averaging 29 points, 5 3-pointers, 7 assists on 58-81 splits. It's been an awesome year overall. That big game pushed him up to number 16 in 9-cat. He's only missed 2, I believe, Denver games so far. So really nice percentage, just 10% games missed so far. That's great. That's a pace for mid-70s. It's everything we could have hoped for. Like, the big fear on Jamal Murray was missed games, and we've been able to dodge that bullet 1 quarter-ish, a little more than that into the NBA season. He was a guy that was one of our prime third-round targets, just like Austin Reaves. Both of those guys panning out nicely. I don't think that you're going to get enough back selling Jamal Murray. If you could get equal value back, I would do it. So you're looking, instead of the last 2-week board, you're looking at the overall board. So again, Jalen Johnson, Anthony Davis actually would be an interesting buy low right now, and then maybe try to flip him, because there's just no, like, as good as Jamal Murray is, there's no way he catches AD in per game rank. Cat would be someone I might look at, because I think his stats are maybe a little bit harder to get, but that's about it. Like, otherwise, you just roll with Jamal Murray because he's been amazing. Maybe Derek White, but I think both of those guys end up as mid-second rounders, and White just has maybe a tiny bit of upside if that field goal percent comes around. But again, splitting hairs. Here's one that you knew was going to happen, and, we were just waiting on when, and that's Anthony Edwards, who got off to a bit of a slow start this year, but he's picked it up. Anthony Edwards, number 9 over the last 2 weeks, averaging a ridiculous 38 points per game, 5 threes, 5 boards, 5 assists, 1.9 combined defensive stats, 56% from the field, just 76 at the free throw line. Overall this year, free throw has actually been pretty good for him. He's up to number 20, thanks to this strong run over the last 2 weeks. He was a guy you drafted expecting him to be an early second to mid-second rounder with durability upside. He may have missed his quota for the year already. Hated missing games. Surprised he got back as fast as he did. I think he only missed like 5 or something like that. He may just play it out at this point. You're like, there's nothing you can do at this point. You can't buy low anymore. He's turned that around. You're not going to sell high because he's freaking Anthony Edwards. So what are you going to get back that you would actually want other than another first rounder? So like, at that point, you'd just be swapping him out for someone that you think is his equal, like a Steph Curry when he comes back, or a Harden, or a Maxey, or a probably not Barnes, or a Cade, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. I am less so, as you guys know. Here's an interesting one. I know he's only played a couple of ball games since coming back, but now with Giannis going down for injury, Kevin Porter Jr. is number 10 in fantasy basketball over the last couple of weeks. And that's notable because so far, the percentages have been really good. However, so let's talk about what he's done. Over his 3 games, one of which he left with back spasms, he's averaging 23 points, 3 boards, 6 assists, 2 steals, 3.7 threes on 56-91 splits. Those are not going to hold. As good as you might think he's going to be this year, that's not staying. I think the usage is going to be very high while Giannis is on the shelf. So the points, the threes, the assists, all that stuff is going to be big. But the other things are going to come down, and they're going to come down pretty fast and pretty hard when they actually do. So, and let's scroll down just a little bit here so you guys can get a better look at it. You can look at the career marks. Like, in 30 games with the Bucks last season, he did shoot 49%, but he's at 56 in these, 4 games. Remember, he played well the first game of the year before going down. Career, he's at 44. Career free throw, he's at 73. He was at 87 in limited work last year. I will give you small growth in those categories, but I will not give you this. So start to run through the math a little bit. What if we had Houston era Kevin Porter Jr. when he was getting 15 shots a game and 6 assists, but the percentages were a little bit better? Okay, we can play that game. Let's go to the board. I'm not going to do it on the screen here because it's too much flipping and flopping and flipping around. But if you go to that Houston year, which one were we talking about? That was 2022, 2023. We'll just do this on the podcast. It's not the best TV, but screw it. That year, Kevin Porter Jr. was number 84 in 9 category leagues. He was at 19 points, 5 boards, 6 assists, 1.4 steals on 44-78 splits. Let's say the field goal percent goes up to let's say he matches the 49 from last year. And let's say the free throw goes up into the low to mid 80s. That pushes him into a fairly elite category of top 50 type performers, maybe even a little bit better. So do we think that's a best case scenario? Like top 40? Well, again, he's first round since he's come back. If you can get a top 40 guy back for Kevin Porter Jr., I'm doing it. Even if you think Giannis gets traded, I'm still doing it because I think that range is probably the absolute best case scenario for him. I don't know that I would go lower because you're going to get a really good run here with Giannis on the shelf. Whether Giannis gets traded or not, he's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks with this calf thing. So you're going to get a mega high usage Kevin Porter run coming up here. But at some point, preferably early on in the Giannis absence, because as Giannis gets close to either coming back or whatever the thrilling conclusion is of this whole Giannis saga, then other people are going to be more wary of taking on KPJ. This is kind of the moment to say, hey, this guy's about to go nuts. I'll give you Kevin Porter Jr., and all you got to do for me is give up. And then you look at the board and you're like, all right, what can I get back for him? Like a Franz Wagner? Could you get a Franz? Probably not. Could you get Jalen Duren? Could you get Denny Avdia, Evan Mobley? After the big ball game, probably not. Is there a buy low that's headed into that range that isn't there yet? It's too late on a lot of these dudes. We needed this to happen like 2 weeks ago to get Kevin Durant. But some of these crazy things might have worked then. Could you get Jimmy Butler? That might work. Nobody likes Jimmy Butler, but he's been awesome so far this year. So try it out, see what floats, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. Speaking of Evan Mobley, he is actually number 11 over the last 2 weeks, and he's number 2 over the last 1 week. So there's nothing you can do at this point. We had him on our buy low show 2 weeks ago when he was hovering down near, number 90, and he couldn't shoot the basketball. Well, he's shooting it now. And really only for 1 week has he truly been shooting the ball. But he's been so hot over that week that at this point, whoever has him is going to ride it out. Because you're probably through the bad part. I have nothing to add on Mobley other than, yes, he was an obvious buy low, and now it happened. And the 12th and final player, top 12 friends over the last week. Last pick of the first round here in our hot list, Josh Hart. Yep, you saw it, guys. Josh Hart has been crushing. 16 points, 10 boards, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 threes on 53% shooting, 86 at the free throw line. He's figured it out. And I don't care about when OG Anunoby comes back. Hart's going to get pushed down the board a little bit, but not by that much. He'll be fine. He's part of what they do. He's figured it out. He was playing through some wrist stuff early in the year. Now he's just rolling. And this is basically, obviously he's way above his depth at the moment because Anunoby's out. But Josh Hart is a top 50, 60 guy. This is what I said this year. I said, I'm not going to take him in the second round where he finished last season. That would be idiotic. Especially with the idea that all these things could have gone wrong leading into this year. Was he going to play 38 minutes a game? No. Were the Knicks going to maybe move away from him to a little more floor spacing? Still maybe. Was he hurt coming into the year? Yeah, but we didn't really know it. So when he was going at pick 50, I didn't really want him. But at pick 100, that was when we were like, yeah, absolutely. This is a great spot to get Josh Hart. He was on our favorites in that range. Onyeka Okongwu and Josh Hart were the 2 favorites in that 95 to 105 zone. And that's why. Because that's just too late for someone with his fantasy appeal. 50 was too early, but 100 and whatever was too late. 107 is where he fell to. He ended at 100. Would I sell high on Josh Hart? I mean, yeah, if you could get again, if you can get a first rounder, obviously, but you're not going to get a first rounder. If you can get a top 50 guy back, you probably still sell on Josh Hart. Because I think that's probably where he lands is between 40 and 60 once Anunoby's back in the mix. And I bet you could get some guys in there that are not like eye-poppy in their stats. Look at the full board. Look at guys between 25 and 60 and see what jumps out at you as like someone that might be on the move, headed in the right direction. Who's in there that could you get Holmgren? Probably not. They probably have to be drafted a little bit later. I know I keep throwing Franz Wagner's name out there, but he's not a terrible target for some of this stuff. Jalen Duren, who's seen his defensive stats come down a little bit. He's probably closer now to the floor over the last couple of weeks. I'd go that way. Could you get Jimmy Butler? Again, people don't seem to like him. Could you get Derek White? Probably not. He's played better lately, but maybe. You're not going to get KD. You're probably not going to get De'Aaron Fox, but it's worth trying. As we mentioned, Chet, Giddey, Franz, Bam, all of these guys are worth trying. And if you have to throw in a little sweetener, you do it. Also, by the way, everybody hates Ivica Zubac. He's number 52. He's been totally fine. We called him a 4th, 5th rounder. That's where he's at. You could go get Ivica Zubac if you need a big man. I think he's actually, if anything, maybe even inching his way up the board. But no, I mean, that's probably where he's at. Could you see the blocks come up just a little bit for Zoo? That's about the only thing you could point at. Aim high, though. See if you could package Josh Hart with someone else who's been kind of warm lately. Not one of these guys, because, like, you got to shoot your bullets where you can. But take someone else on your team that's running a little bit warm and pack them up. Try to get a top 30 guy that way. And that is it. Not quite 25 minutes, 26 and a half. Not bad. Thanks for watching, everybody. This was the Hot List. Again, I know, not a super actionable show, but kind of a fun one to see some interesting names that have been hot over the last couple of weeks. We'll try to do one of these every 2 or 3 weeks because that's about as often as you need them. For those of you that have considered or done the 99 cents, I am extraordinarily grateful. For everybody in general, please hit that subscribe button. That's the biggest, easiest, free way that you can help us. Follow on Twitter. That's a free way that you can help me specifically. Hit that like button on the way out. Thanks to FanDuel. As always, I'm Dan Besbris, and I'll see you guys in a little bit with our big week in review program.